Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode number 10 of Five Questions with Tina. And to celebrate our 10th episode, we have the amazing, incredible Bear McCreary. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Bear. Thank you for being here. So, for the very few two people in the whole universe who don't know who Bear is, he is an incredibly prolific and amazing composer for film, TV, and video games. I was trying to compile a list that wasn't so long that it would just take an hour to go through everything. But some of my personal highlights and favorites, Bear has written the music for The Walking Dead. Ooh. Outlander, Foundation, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Battlestar Galactica, which is how I first came into contact with Bear, God of War, Call of Duty Vanguard, which just came out, Godzilla, King of Monsters, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which you can see right behind him. Um, he plays the hurdy-gurdy and accordion, along with a gazillion other instruments, and he was also one of the last proteges of the great Elmer Bernstein. Is that all accurate?
That is all accurate. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So now that I have told you guys a little bit about Bear, I'm going to go into the five questions. Are you ready?
I'm all set. Let's do it.
Okay, question number one. What is your favorite type of pizza and why?
I'm gonna go out on a limb because I like. Oh God, I'm ashamed to admit this. I like Hawaiian pizza
Why is that shameful?
because there's like memes about how horrible it is.
Wait, because of the pineapple or
I
because of.
don't know. I've never understood it. The pineapple and the Canadian bacon. It's awesome. It's like I love it. I love
I,
it.
I totally agree.
I think it's unfairly maligned, and I won't take it anymore.
Yes, I'm a big pineapple and pepperoni fan. I don't know if you've tried that, but
I
it's.
haven't, but that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay. Question number 2. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you did and why?
Oh my God. If I was arrested with no explanation, my friends and family would probably assume, um, I don't know. I was trying to think like, I'd probably be like, oh, I know. They'd probably assume that I broke into this museum in Florence where they have this hurdy-gurdy that was used by the Medici family. It's behind glass, but when
Mhm.
I saw it a few summers ago, I was like, "Wow, I want to play that." And I was asking like, "Hey, when do they ever let people play that?" And the person in the museum looked at me like very suspiciously. So they would probably assume that I Mission Impossible style uh, broke in the middle of the night and tried to steal it.
I love that. That's pretty cool. I'll pay you $5 to go do that.
Ooh, let's do it. Let's jam with it.
Yes. Okay, question number 3. This is, pseudo serious. What is the career achievement that you are most proud of?
Oh wow! I mean, I'm so fortunate to have done so many things and worked with so many people. Um, I think the thing that I'm the most proud of is just that I feel like Elmer Bernstein went out on a limb and took me under his wing and took a chance on me, and I'm so grateful that he did that. When he met me when I was a high school student, and he just knew that I was really passionate about film music and that I wanted to move to LA and he helped me out and I worked for him for years. I'm just proud that I feel like I have acknowledged that and I'm hoping to pay it back out into the universe by helping other people. Like I'm just really proud of the fact that I feel like I made good on what he taught me, and that I used it. And, so yeah, I mean, like on a serious note, like I'm really proud of that. I'm and I think about that a lot, and I hope that one day I'll be able to help somebody else the way he helped me.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. Question number 4, along the same lines. Now, what on the other side, career, what is the personal achievement that you're the most proud of?
Again, there's so many. I am so proud of the fact that I got to write a song for Chucky and have Mark Hamill sing it. Like
Yes.
I got to work with Mark, like that's like the first thing that jumps in my mind. It happened guess a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many fun, like amazing things that like any number of which would I feel like if I told my high school self that I'd get to like work with the guys from Oingo Boingo or uh, you know hang out with Mark Hamill and record with him or like record with guys from like Blue Oyster Cult and all these bands that I loved growing up. Any one of those things, I'd be like, wow, that's the greatest thing in your life you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um and yet there's just so many of them, so I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, it's those unexpected things that I think come to my mind, because you don't think when you set out to like start scoring films that you'll get to do some of the weird things
Mhm.
that you actually get to do in this industry. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you. Okay, number 5. Tell me about your thoughts on the subject of fate.
Well, to quote Terminator, there's no fate but what we make.
I
uh
like that.
yeah, I don't know. Fate, um how I have thought about it is
Mhm,
how it pertains to music and art and
mhm,
having a career in the creative field. Because I often felt like people would often say that it's a bad career choice. When we're in high school and passionate about music, there'd be somebody that would say, "Yeah, okay, but like, what's your backup major?" or something like that.
right.
And I always felt like it was my fate that I would do this, and that
Mhm,
might be like almost like crazy to think when
mhm,
you're a kid in high school or middle school. But I always felt that um, I felt maybe naively that if you work really hard and you love what you do and people love to work with you, that there's a place for you in the industry. And no matter how many times I encounter people that sort of have a different opinion than that, I still
mhm.
believe that
The
it's like
the
that
harder you work,
maybe.
the luckier you get, yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
it's not fate. Maybe it's that you make your own fate by willing it into existence, um, and by being, sort of like aggressively positive about what you're doing. To word it another way, I've always
Aggressively
felt like,
positive, I like that.
yeah, that it's like if if you are a person
Mhm,
that has energy and ideas. And when you
mhm,
walk into a room, you share that energy and you share those ideas, and other
mhm.
people are excited by being around you and they like to be around you,
Right.
and you are talented.
Yes.
That is a small part of it, but only a small part of it. If you have all those things, that
Mhm.
there is a place in this industry for you. You know what I mean? That it's like
Yes, yes.
I just sort of came to LA with this very naive sense that it's like, of course I'm going to do it, but I did, and I feel like Elmer saw that in me. I mean, to sort of circle back to that other question,
Mhm,
that
mhm, mhm.
I don't know what he saw in me, but I felt, yeah, I've always felt very strongly that maybe that is fate, or it's just your ability to sort of one's ability to guide yourself toward the future that you want.
Yeah,
It's a way that I take comfort in having some feeling of control, even though that might be an illusion,
right,
ultimately.
right, right.
So yeah, those are my feelings. I don't know. What are your feelings?
What are my feelings?
Yeah.
Um, I'm a big believer in, what is that line? I am the I'm the captain of my ship? Something of my soul. What, you know what I'm talking about from
Yeah. Yeah.
Invictus? Yeah, yeah. So just, yeah, and for me, I'm really into hashtag manifest, into manifesting. And I know it sounds frou frou. It can be very, and when I say manifest, I'm not talking about, oh, let me just hope, for something and put it on my vision board and it's going to happen. It's putting the like what you said about energy.
Yeah.
I feel like us as humans, as animals, as whatever spiritual beings inside these physical bodies, like we do have, um, I mean, literally, scientifically, like we all have different, like energy waveforms through music, through our I don't know, just the vibrations that we give off, right? And so I
Mhm.
think if we have such a strong intention and belief, self belief, a lot of the time, especially when everybody around you is telling you that you're crazy or it's impossible, just this obsessive focus. So that part of it, I think, is the energetic part, the manifesting part. And then, just like you said, just being hell bent on making it happen no matter what. Every time it doesn't work, you just keep going until something happens. That's from.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's fate or not. I mean, I guess maybe it's a little bit of both. But at the same time, maybe for me, I've found that outside of work, outside of career, and we've had conversations about this over Facebook or but um, I think there's some other things in other areas of life, that I've found that you can't control, and for so many years I was such a control freak over every little thing, and and then sometimes I, you get slapped in the face, like, oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that is something we were alluding to, and it's worth
Mhm,
mentioning here for everybody listening. Like, I found everything that I just said about being driven and about taking some sense of control,
mhm,
that really helped me through my teenage years. It really helped me in my 20s because I sacrificed everything in my 20s.
mhm.
And even in my early 30s, I sacrificed everything. But then that drive, actually, it's like an engine that will burn too hot and it'll just explode. I found that
Mhm.
actually after a while, the thing that was really helping me was starting to hurt. And I needed to actually embrace that there are some things I can't control. And it sounds
Yeah.
so obvious when you say it out loud, but
Right.
it wasn't at the time, especially when you're really driven and you're like, no, I have the power to make this happen.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
logical thing that happens is if you go, okay, well, if it doesn't happen, then it's your fault.
Mhm.
And for a long time, that was good news for me. I was like, you're right. You're right, brain. It's my fault, but that means I can fix it. And I'm
Mhm.
just gonna, I'm gonna work harder and sacrifice more.
Mhm.
And yeah, I realize now that I've reached this place, and there are other parts of my life. I mean, I have a kid now, but even beyond that, just your mental health becomes a thing you have to prioritize
Yes.
eventually.
Yeah.
Uh, and I realized, like, oh yeah, this is I have to be able to embrace that there are some things I can control and other things I can't. And that's where that
Mhm.
thing you said about like being able to move on, being able to take the bigger picture perspective on things, that became something I really had to work at. And that's
Yeah.
where, again, to go back to the idea of fate, sometimes that meant for me telling myself this opportunity that you lost, you didn't lose it because it wasn't yours. That wasn't
Mhm.
your thing.
Mhm.
It wasn't, you weren't fated to do that. There's some other thing that you can't see is in the
Right.
future. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And I
Yeah.
used to kind of have the mentality that was like, no, that was my opportunity and I failed and I lost that opportunity. I still say that. I still catch myself saying like,
Yeah.
man, if somebody goes, well, what happened with that movie they were talking to you about? I'm like, I lost that. Then I go, stop. No, no, no,
Mhm.
wait. Did I just say I lost that? Time out. They chose someone else,
Yeah.
which is different than I lost that opportunity. But that was
Right.
like just a little thing that I had to kind of teach myself after some just, real difficult years.
I completely understand. I again, I've written about it. Because I write about everything on social media. Because I'm very open. But yeah, for so many years, and I guess a part of it, maybe I'm like trying to like find excuses for myself but I'm like, you kind of have to be that way. I think at least when we start in our 20s, and now I'm 36, but I feel like that for me, it was an extremely obsessive drive that I think was actually fueled by negative emotions. I was hyper competitive. I'm just being honest, hyper jealous. I mean, I wouldn't show it or at least try not to, but anytime if again, just in complete, blatant honesty, if I saw like another cellist, get a gig for something and like the feeling of like it was like a flesh like oh, and it was like I was gonna die. I mean, I'm not being dramatic, like how much like
No, your
torture it
brain
was,
has a way of tricking you. Your brain tricks you
Mhm.
into thinking that everything everyone else does is
Mhm.
taking away from you.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
that when that starts to take hold,
Mhm.
it can devour you.
It's
It can drive
yeah.
people nuts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I found that it's good to hear you. You know, you and I sort of talked about this. I think we kind of went through a similar experience because
Mhm.
I realized a few things. One, I thought if I continue down this path, this was a few years ago. If I keep going down this path, I'm going to become a bitter person. I'm starting to get filled with like this negativity. And
Mhm.
objectively speaking, I am doing all the things I want to do in my life.
Right.
Why am I not happy? You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's when I realized, like, oh, this is. I mean, all these cliches are true, but I mean, you know, it's about the journey, not the destination. That it's like
It is true.
score every movie in the world, and I still wouldn't feel any different if
Yeah.
I can't be happy with what I'm doing now.
Right, right. No, it's totally true, and for me, it's like I like to be very, I always say I'm like half musician, half artist, half robot. And so the robot part, I have all my spreadsheets and all the goals and exact numbers and things I want. And I found that as I was checking each thing off, some of them took many, many years. Like you said, I wasn't getting any happier. It's like every time you reach something, it's not enough, it's something more.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that has anything to do with fate, but I like where this conversation
no, I
went. But
know. No, I want to tell you the epiphany that I had was that I I always wanted to do film.
Mhm,
My career started predominantly in television,
mhm,
and about 10 years ago now, say sort of 2010, I made an effort to start steering towards film,
mhm,
and then especially when I signed with Richard Kraft and Laura Engel, that was I was like, hey,
mhm,
I'm not in this space enough.
mhm,
And I started doing movies, and I did like 30 movies in I don't know 7 years, and in 2019 I had four movies out at the same time.
mhm,
Two of them were in the top 10 in the same weekend. One of them was a Godzilla, a
mhm.
$200 million tentpole movie,
Yeah.
and then I realized like it is nowhere near enough to make me happy. Not even close. It wasn't even
Mhm,
like I was just like, oh my god, I just had this feeling like I was drowning. Like, what's
mhm.
next? What have I got to do
Right.
next? And that's when I realized like this is all in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mhm,
objectively, I had set out on a goal
mhm,
and I got there. And that's when I realized like I think innately I need to A, be kinder to myself, but
mhm.
B, also kind of recognize that it's not about the goal. It's about like wanting to move forward, which
Yes. Yeah.
is good. So it's what I'm saying is it's not that my I decided I should be happy doing four movies a year. No, it's
Mhm,
not what I did. It was quite the opposite. Is like
mhm,
I started working on other projects, many of which are unannounced. You know
mhm.
what one of them is.
I do.
Um, and
It's
it's like
very
there's all these
exciting.
other tease. But it's like that's what I got out of it was like I need to diversify my creative brain
Yeah.
um because I realized like if I'm not listening to my inner voice, which is I thought it was always saying like you want to do movies.
Mhm,
But when I got there, it was like, no, now you wanna go over there. You want to do that.
mhm.
And I really took a minute to like respect that and try to like start being open to other things. And it's been 2 years since that epiphany, and I'm really glad I did. I think the
Yeah.
music and other creative art that I've been making
Mhm.
is going to surprise people when it comes out. I'm really proud of all the stuff I've been doing.
Yeah. It's incredible. I can't wait to hear it. It's amazing. And okay, so those are our 5 questions. However, at the very end of each episode, I like to give an open platform. So if there's any career advice, because I feel like probably everybody watching this is going to want Bear McCreary's career advice. So if you have any life advice, career advice, anything you want to say, anything you want to scream, now's your chance.
Career advice. Well, I
Mhm.
feel like I hinted at it earlier.
Yeah.
And really it's that the you, you should have faith in the universe that your hard work will
Mhm.
get repaid. And it's not always in what you think it is. It's not
Mhm.
always money. It's
Mhm.
not always credit. It's not always fame. It's not always relationships, but it's usually something. And if you can find yourself in a situation where you get something out of it, I find that the mistake most young composers make, but I would go out on a limb and just say young entrepreneurs and artists of any kind, is
Mhm.
that they get so concerned that on their early career that it's like there's not enough money. They want to keep the publishing. I mean, I see people talk about these things like they're moral outrages. And it's
Mhm.
like, look, you're trying to start your career. This person is trying to make a low budget movie. Like, it's not personal. They don't hate you, okay? That if you work really hard and you are fun to be around and you don't make people feel um you don't make people feel like you're angry at them for not having enough money or whatever. And here's the most important part. Like, I think if you go into those relationships with an open heart and you give, yes, sometimes you will get burned bad.
Mhm.
But if you know that, like, this is what gets me through it, is that, like, that's happened to me and it still happens to me.
Mhm.
But that I, rather than get mad about it and get jaded and go, see, the industry sucks, man, is I just go, you know what? It's still going to come back to me. The ripple effect, something, I lost out on everything on, say, this project. But
Mhm.
it's like I still went in with an open heart. I'm going to go into the next one with an open heart. And most of the time, I find that that is rewarded pretty quickly. Um,
Yes.
I'm going to tell a quick story on this, okay?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
All right. So there was a time when I was in a terrible professional situation. I got hired on a project and I went in, and most of the people on the project were new. I hadn't met any of them. And I sat in a room, and the director of this project was not a nice person. Let me put it that way. Okay.
Okay.
This person somehow didn't understand the timeline of the project at all. And
Mhm.
I came in to do a spotting session. And this guy thought I was supposed to be delivering the final cues. I mean, that's how out to lunch he was.
Okay.
I had just gotten hired. Like, it's been days.
Yeah.
So he berates me
Mm.
for like 2 hours in front of all these strangers, yelling at
Mm.
me, telling me how much, as far as he's concerned, I've already screwed up. I'm already a
Mhm.
total screw up. You know, where are the cues? He's supposed to show something to the producers tomorrow. And I'm like, wow. Like, I just met this guy. Like, he
Yeah.
thought I was supposed to walk in with a finished score. And again, it's like, all right, I just very calmly just said, hey man, I'm really sorry that I didn't have those cues today, but I'm here now. You want to spot the film? And he'd be like, no, it's too late. It's a disaster. And I go, yeah, I
Mhm.
know it's really bad, but I am here. So should we maybe, let's take a look at a couple of scenes.
Mhm.
Everybody in the room was just like, it was like, they were horrified.
Yeah.
And they just watched me navigate this guy, basically taking verbal abuse for 2 hours. And and the end of the meeting, I walked out of the room, and eventually I was fired. Um,
Ugh.
but by the way, just to add more injury to the
Uh,
insult,
uh,
I wrote an entire orchestral score first, and we had an orchestra booked. It
uh,
was massive, and then I got fired. So it wasn't like I got fired after that first meeting. I did all the work, and then I got fired. It was a total mess. It wasn't even that director who fired me. It was like a mess. All
right.
right, but here's the point of the story, Tina.
Okay. Tell me something positive because I'm really
I
angry right
will.
now. Okay.
A year later, one of the people that sat in that room was in
Mhm.
another room.
Mm.
They were in a room with Joss Whedon on the director's cut of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the pilot.
Mm.
And Joss was saying, hey, so who should we get to score this thing? And this person who had only met me that one day, all they knew about me personally is that I can take verbal abuse from a crazy person for 2 hours and I don't lose my cool. He said,
That's
you gotta get Bear McCreary. You gotta get him.
wow.
And
That's
not
incredible.
only did they do that, but that show ran for 7 years and
Mhm.
paid my bills while I took risks on doing demos and doing low budget movies and, like, Agents of Shield was such a blessing in my life
Mhm.
because it was a network show, and
Yeah.
I had a great time on it, and it was a wonderful experience. But that's my point, is that even in that,
You
it came from that terrible experience, but that,
Yeah.
like, even in that terrible experience, like, keeping your cool, like, I'm telling everybody else in the room that it's like, I know this is obviously terrible, but it would only be
Mhm.
more terrible if I lost my cool, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna, like, do everything I can to just help everybody get through this. If you're
Right.
that kind of
That
person, you get noticed. That kind of person has a career.
Yes. Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, guys, don't forget what Bear said. He's right. Thank you.
Let people yell at you. No, don't let people yell at you. Keep your
No,
cool.
but you're right. Yeah, having full control over, at least on the outside. That's incredible. Thank you so much for imparting some of your wisdom on us. Thanks so much for doing this podcast. I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Oh, this is
Yeah,
fun. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Okay, well, guys, come back almost every Monday. I know I've skipped a few, so I apologize, but come back on Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 o'clock Eastern, and we will see you soon. Bye. Bye, Bear.
Bye.
Bye.